Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bailey. I am about to graduate from the University of Washington in both majors, political science and communication, and I am hoping to move to Washington, D.C. to work again on the Hill. If you guys are interested in any videos have to do with politics, school, job hunt, anything like that, go check out the other videos on my channel. I do make some lifestyle e-vlogs, but the majority of my videos are going to be work related. I do have experience in the political realm. I also interned for Congress in Washington, D.C. a few years ago, so I have a ton of videos on my channel about that, which are very popular. So I'm sure if you guys are watching this video because you are interested in getting a job post-college, obviously, or you are even interested in working in Washington, D.C. or in politics on any capacity, please go check out my other videos because they'll probably be very helpful to you, or you can just leave me a comment down below and I can try to answer it in another video. So in today's video, I am going to be talking about my tips for finding a job after college. I had a couple of people ask me to make a video about this because, as you may know, if you're watching this video or even my last video before this one, I am on the job hunt. I am about to graduate in about 4 weeks now. Okay. And so I'm looking for a job. I've had quite a few leads, quite a few interviews at some really prestigious places, which I'm really proud of myself for. Still waiting to accept a job offer, so I thought I would give you guys some of my tips and tricks for how I have just looked for jobs and gotten some success. I'm hoping I can update after this video if I did secure this job that I am waiting and praying that I get, but either way, I still think this video will be very helpful for you. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so the very first thing I think you guys should start doing when looking for a job would be to make a list of your must-haves in that job. And when I was and am looking for a job, I was realistic in saying, you know, these are the things I would absolutely love. Like, I'd love to be president, or I'd love to work for this senator, or work for this lobbying firm, or anything like that. But I also wanted to be realistic with myself in what I genuinely believed would be opportunities for me as a straight out of college new graduate. So I created a list of things that I was not really going to settle on for a job, and I would really suggest you guys be realistic. As I said, there's a lot of things I would like to do. I'd love to make, you know, $200,000 a year and all of this stuff, but like right now at this stage, that's probably not going to happen for me, so I need to be honest. So some of the things I had on my list were, I really want to work in Washington, D.C. for this time of my life. That's been a huge goal of mine, is to be able to move to Washington, D.C. and work preferably on the Hill or in the White House or somewhere in that area for a few years. So I was mainly applying for places in the city there. That doesn't mean if I got offered a job in Texas or New York or California or some other place, or even here in Seattle, that I wouldn't consider it, but that was just not the main place that I was going to apply. I also knew some of the places I wanted to apply. I kind of had an idea of, well, I'd like to work for Congress, I'd also like to work for the White House, I'd also like to work for this lobbying firm or this law firm or this strategist firm. So I kind of had an idea of the kinds of jobs I was looking for, which I could then use to help my research. I also knew that while I would love to make tons and tons of money, I also knew that for starting positions that was not realistic. So I wanted to make sure that I was accepting a salary or looking for jobs with a salary that I was comfortable with in terms of, I know my abilities, I know what I have to offer, I don't want to be paid less for than what I'm worth. So I knew what I was willing to negotiate on, and that helps when you kind of like look up on other websites like Glassdoor or LinkedIn under like what salaries are for certain positions. It varies, but it's kind of helpful. And then I also decided on what type of living situation I would be comfortable in. I was not going to accept a job with a salary that I knew that I couldn't get a safe apartment in a decent area that I could afford, that was, you know, close enough to where I needed to work, where I'd be happy commuting, you know, 30 minutes or so, but I wasn't going to do a 2-hour train commute just because I couldn't afford to live in an area close enough to where I work. There were just certain things that I was like, nope, this is on my list. Things like that. I also wanted a job where there's opportunities for me to move up, either within the firm or the office or the company, whatever it may be. I didn't want to accept a job where it was like, this is the job and there's no possibility of you either rising up or even getting a raise. So things like that, just kind of making a list of what I wouldn't settle on and then moving on from there. All right, my second tip is to perfect your resume. If you guys don't have a resume yet and you're looking for a job, this is the absolute first step you need to do. Don't even think about what jobs you want right now or anything like that. Just make a resume.
Make the resume.
Resume making can be daunting. I spent multiple months perfecting my resume, sending it to people, sending it to professionals, sending it to friends of mine who had graduated years before me and were already working in the jobs that I wanted, having them look over it. I'm sending it to websites, having them read over it, and like, it was a process, but I also have anxiety and I wanted it to be perfect. So that was my personal approach, but I did spend a long time perfecting my resume. So far, I have been told that it is one of the best they've seen. Obviously, my qualifications aren't necessarily the best they've ever seen, like I'm right out of college, but they're really impressed with the resume and I know that will get me far. So I would suggest making the resume. If you don't know how to do it, look up a template online, or you can even purchase like a $5 subscription or even like a free trial on a resume building website. I've used the website, it's like Template.net or something like that. I don't know, something along that line, and they will help you kind of create a resume, draft it, put in the right skills. I would definitely recommend keeping your resume to 1 page. Don't let it spill over onto 2 pages. This does not include a cover page. That's completely different. If the job asks for that, it might be helpful to just have one in case. But there's no need to have a 2-page resume if you're just starting off looking for a job. However, if you are watching this and you're like a graduate student, or you are a research professional, or someone who's been in the field for multiple years, I think a 2-page resume would be appropriate. But for me, who's 22 and have only had like 5 or 6 jobs and internships, I don't need more than 1 page of a resume. You need to prioritize what's going to be on that form and then stick to it. It's going to be much more streamlined and professional. So make your resume and perfect it. All right, my next tip is to also create a LinkedIn. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know what a LinkedIn is, but if for any reason you do not, LinkedIn is a social media network site that is also mostly used for professional career development. So this is like the Facebook of job hunting almost. Everyone pretty much has a LinkedIn. You can add your resume, you can add like different certificates and forms and awards and stuff. It's basically a professional Facebook profile where people will go to look at you professionally. So sure, I look at my friends, but like I'm usually looking up people in my field that I want to achieve, or coworkers of mine that I'm gonna add, or like bosses, intern coordinators, someone else that needs to look at my page as like a streamlined online professional resume site. So definitely make a LinkedIn. A lot of people will check you out on there if you know it or not. So it's also helpful to connect just to sometimes streamline your resume services online. If they say like autofill your resume, you can just link your LinkedIn a lot of times, or just to like, hey, here's my email, here's also my LinkedIn. If you want to know a little bit more about me, I would definitely suggest creating a site like that. I think I'm going to also make a video on my channel about how to create the best LinkedIn. I already wrote an article about it for a website that I work on, and I think it's going to do really well. It hasn't been published yet, but I'm going to make a video similar to that, so you guys should look out for it. Or definitely create a LinkedIn. Okay. On the topic of social media, after talking about LinkedIn, you should definitely go and clean up your social media profiles. Let me explain that. If you're going into a field where your personal presence and much of that doesn't really matter, maybe you're doing like web development for a company, maybe you're like more of a behind the scenes writer, or you're a computer technician, or just like something like that where no one's really going to be looking up like, oh, who's the guy who's like working on the Google pages. Like, it doesn't really matter. The stuff that you do in your free time, don't worry about it as much. I would still suggest it because I have some people that I know who they definitely needed to have cleaned up their social media and it bit them later during the job hunt. But especially for you guys who are watching this video and you want to do politics or law or lobbying or like anything in the public sphere at all, you need to clean up your social media. Now, I'm sure that thinking of the best in people, you don't have anything online that is really bad. You don't have any like racist comments. You don't have any inappropriate nude photos. You don't have any like horrible back tracing thing that people can find out about you. If that's something that you're working on, or if you do have anything like that on your social media profile, I definitely suggest dealing with that within yourself and privately. But that cannot continue. That will be discovered. People are going to hunt that down, send it to your boss. You'll get targeted. Like, don't do it. I have never had an issue about that personally. I'm not that kind of person. And this is no hate, but you guys need to clean up your social media. Even me, I went back and made sure like my Twitter didn't have like any retweets that were like kind of edgy. Well, it's politics, so there's probably something edgy in there, but not anything inappropriate. My Facebook, you know, I got it when I was like 12, and I made sure there was no like cussing on my page or like inappropriate comments or like Facebook fights I got in like high school with my, you know, cheerleading team or something. Like none of that was on Facebook, but like nothing that could be misconstrued as negative. This is also very important. In college, high school, whatever, if you are seen at a party holding like a red Solo cup, you're probably drinking, it's college, whatever. But if you're underage, especially, that can come and bite you at any time. So just don't post anything like that. Don't let there be any gray area in any of your social media posts. Just a clean trace, okay? A clean trace. So just clean up your social media. Make sure that if your boss was looking at it or if your grandmother was looking at it, it would be appropriate. Okay, my next tip is to narrow down your job options. I've kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but if you're looking at this video, you probably already know what field of job you want to go after. If you don't, I would really do some soul searching, figure out kind of what you're interested in, what you want to do, but definitely narrow down some ideas. If I went into my job searching process and I was like, well, I kind of want to work for someone in Washington, D.C., but I also might want to work for someone in Seattle, or ooh, maybe moving to Texas would be really cool, or maybe I'll do a study abroad and I'll just go to Europe and do something there. Like, I'll just apply for everything. I mean, sure, but that would also take me much longer and I would probably be less satisfied with the results because I wouldn't actually really be happy with what I was doing. I would just be kind of applying for everything and not really know what I was looking for. So really kind of toy around online, use LinkedIn, look for similar people in your career path or just interest field. If you're interested in technology, awesome. Just look up like technology jobs, Seattle, computer science, click, and then you kind of like look through what's available. If you don't like doing research, don't do that. If you prefer programming, look for that. Same thing with politics. I knew that I didn't really want to do campaign work. That's not to say I would never consider it, but I knew I was not going to be applying for those hundreds of jobs that says campaign operative for X or campaign manager for X. I just wasn't even looking at that. I was paying attention to other jobs. So try to figure out what you want to do and then just put your energy into searching for that. All right, my next tip is to reach out to your contacts. Now, I'm sure that there are some people who are watching this video and they're like, hey, I don't really have any contacts, didn't do very many internships, or my major changed and it's kind of different now. I don't have anyone to reach out to. That's totally okay. You can kind of skip over this or take it in a different way. But for me, I definitely know that networking plays a huge role in your career, especially in politics. It really is a game of who do you know. And throughout my undergraduate career, when I was doing internships or just attending galas and meetings and all of that, I was getting to know people and hey, you remember me, we've talked a couple times, hey, I emailed you, hey, we had a phone call, hey, I worked for you, this and that, so that like people knew who I was, so that now when I've graduated college, I can be like, hey, Representative X, you know, we've known each other for a couple years now, I'm really interested in a staffer position at your office, do you have anything available for me? Or hello, lobbying firm that I interned for, you have worked with me for 2 years. Do you have any positions within your company? You wrote me a really great letter of recommendation. I'm sure that I could be very useful to you. Or I even have some friends like from my church or from other organizations I was with they are close with me and they're like, hey, I have some connections to someone here. And I'm like, great, can you get me connected with them? Just little things like that where it's like that individual might not themselves have a job for me, but they might know someone else who will. Or maybe they do have a job for you and this is the perfect time to kind of like pull those sticks and be, hey, I worked for you in the past, can I now work for you in the future? So definitely use all of the resources that you can, be confident, don't be afraid to reach out to someone that maybe you're not super close with, but you had a good experience with them, or they might be really well connected. Just do all that you can. Right. My next tip is to follow up. I find this extremely important, so make sure that you pay attention to this tip for sure. Anytime that you apply for a job, there's going to be a couple different ways that you can do it. If you're on a website, like a resume website where it's like, hey, apply to this random email, and if they like you, they'll contact you personally. I don't really know who's reading the email. I don't really know whose office it's going to. It's just generalized. I'm not going to respond to that randomized junk mail email with like a thank you note or like, hey, following up. Like, I'm just going to put my resume in there, hope for the best. However, if I know whose office it's going to or who I'm talking with, I need to follow up. So let's say I turn in a resume for a job. About a week later, I would probably follow up again, even if I haven't heard from them, just saying, hello, I turned in a resume about a week ago for this position. I'm still very interested. Please let me know if you need anything else from me or if there's any updates if you're still hiring for this position. You could even call if you would like. Don't make this a badgering thing where like you turn in your resume, you wait a day, and then you call them 6 times. Don't do that. Or, it's been a week, you've emailed them 6 times, or you do have an interview, and after your interview, you wait the next day, you send a thank you email, and then you wait another week to follow up. There's kind of like a professional waiting period there, so definitely follow that, but also just make sure you're following up so that they know you're still interested and that you are a go-getter and you're going to keep looking for that job. All right, another great tool is to ask your college for help. If you are graduating from a university like I am, they have a lot of great resources for career placement and just advising offices that can help you. A lot of times they already have contacts or well-establishments within their university that they can say, hey, we partner with so-and-so, we can definitely connect you with them and see if you can go forward with an interview. My university is a research university and they also really specialize in technology. So I know that I think they're very well connected with Microsoft and Amazon and Google and all of those places. So for my friends who are studying computer science, it's super easy for them to contact Microsoft, Google, Amazon, because our school has such great connections with them. For my major, it's not that way. These are kind of connections I built myself, but the career office is still a really great place for me to go if I need that extra bit of help. And while you're waiting to hear back on that job you applied for and you're just hoping and praying and asking like everyone in your entire life to pray for you, prepare. Don't waste that time sitting around twiddling your thumbs, just like, doing whatever. Prepare and use that time wisely. Use it as an opportunity to practice your interview skills. There's some great YouTube videos you can watch where they practice like questions and answers with you so that if they do email back and they're like, hey, we want to do an interview with you tomorrow, that you're all set and ready to go with the right answers. There's also places for you to kind of like run through beefing up your resume if maybe that was the problem, or even templates for like those response emails I was telling you, or even just practicing like, I don't know, your communication skills in terms of just like talking. Practice all of these useful job skills that you can so that when that email does come and they say they want an interview, you're ready to go and you're ready to ace it. And my final tip is to use job placement sites. For some careers, they are going to be easier to find than others. I think a lot of technical careers, it's a lot easier to use a job placement site. I know for political careers, it's a little bit different. For example, I know there is a website for the United States Senate that you can say that you are available to start working, you put in your resume, and then they will have like a FaceTime call with you or something, flush you out. And then if they like you, they'll place you in an office pretty quickly. The only problem with that is that they usually need you to start working within like a few days to a week. So it's difficult if you're like me and I'm living across country where I would need at least a few weeks to a month to completely move over there and be ready to start my job. So offices like that for me are like a last resort to use. For right now, I'm using everything else I can. But if I really can't find a job, I'd probably use a placement office and then hope for the best. But definitely check out those resources. They can be very helpful. Also, resume banks. Sometimes offices aren't hiring, but if you just say, hey, I really want to work here, whenever a position opens up, please give me a call. Send in your resume anyways. They might not have a position that you can work at the time. That's okay, keep looking. But maybe down the road they will need someone, maybe a few years, maybe a month, maybe that next week someone quits and they need to fill the spot and they have your resume on file. So definitely keep those opportunities open and waiting in the wings. Alright you guys, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Please tell me if you got any useful tips out of this video. I was really excited to make it. I think my tips and tricks that I shared with you guys today is really helpful and it will set you up for success for any career that you are going down. I make these videos because there are things that I am experiencing right now and there are things that I want to help everyone else with because I know it takes a lot of time to kind of figure your life out, figure things out in general. Not saying I've done that already, but I've definitely put in a lot of time to make sure I have some idea of what to do going through these different stages, and I want to give that same help to you. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below whatever job you're looking for, or if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to make a video about it, or even just respond in the comments. Thank you guys so much. Good luck on your job hunt, and stay safe. Bye.